Hey everyone.
Hey.
Welcome to the Uber channel chat. I mean Uber channel with the chat, or Uber stream. I haven't had lunch yet. I'm here with Ben, I'm Eka. We're gonna go over some SuperMNC content, some of the new user created content that we are releasing. And then we're gonna go to some Planetary Annihilation stuff.
Yep.
And there's some winners and some Logitech giveaways as well.
Yeah, a bunch of Logitech hardware sitting over there for people.
All right, so we're gonna start with the user created content. Can I get the computer on here? All right, I don't know if you guys can see that. So Ben and I have been working on releasing some of the assets for SuperMNC. The first things we released are under here, under with SuperMNC user created content. And we start creating a doc. I'll post about how to get yourself set up if you want to create any custom characters, extensions, props, hats, whatever else. There's just if you go to the forum under SuperMNC user created content, there's an info section, a sticky post for that. What we did, Ben actually created a UDK compatible shader that will let you preview any of our content on there. So make sure you download UDK. It's free from the udk.com site. And once you get that, just download the material and shader files that will let you see the SuperMNC content. And once you have that, these are all the different assets we have right now. We have all the different pros, some of their weapons, and FBX files if you wanted to take them into an external program like 3 Studio Max or Maya.
And there are some people who have figured out on the forums on how to get stuff into something like Blender, though we don't officially support that.
Yeah, but I do want to mess around with blenders because people are going to use it. We want to make sure we support it.
Yeah, we can't guarantee that Blender assets are going to work properly without a lot of finagling, but we'll do our best to help out when we can.
There's also some taunts you can look at as well. Some of the taunts don't work. The sound isn't there yet. We'll try to get those worked out, but some of the taunts will crash because they can't find certain props that we haven't put into the packages.
Yeah. We'll be working on that as we go through and try and clean up some of those packages. So we try and post in that thread whenever we update things. Might not show up on the front page, but we are updating them relatively often.
Can we cut back? Okay, so I'm going to launch UDK.
The sound levels are going to be okay on this? Or you can adjust the sound levels when you do live?
Oh, before I do that, let's see. When you download the content, make sure you create.
When you download the UDK.
Yeah, after you download UDK, in the content folder, create a SuperMNC folder, subfolder, and then you can put all the SuperMNC content in there. And there's also a batch file in our on the thread, so you can use to, for example, extract textures. So just drag one of the packages onto it, and that way you can extract any of the target files that come with it. For example, here is Archer. And all the various textures. Ben's creating a texture guide, which should be out at some point soon, to explain how to create these different textures and what they all mean and how the material works.
Yeah, it's a unique setup for us, something I created. It's based off of some stuff there's some other game studios have shown, or even some other there's some papers on physically based rendering, if anybody's familiar with that. These are somewhat based off of, but it's somewhat stylized for our game. And I'm working on a document that will explain how each of them function, what they're, from an artist perspective, how they're used, as well as some basics as far as how to create the characters, materials, and how to set the textures for those materials and get them onto the characters.
All right, once you get everything in the right place, in UDK, if you load up the asset content browser, you'll see a SMNC folder, and there should be all the various assets. Now it won't show up till you right-click on one of the assets and go fully load. Then you'll be able to see your results, for example. Once you're in here, you can do certain things like hold down L key, and then you can move the light around. model preview. Use the left mouse button to rotate around, use the right mouse button to zoom in, and use the middle to pan. So that should give you a preview of anything you create. You have a good idea with using our in-game shader. We'll have a more in-depth tutorial on how to import assets, how to set up shaders, materials, and textures.
Yeah, so like I was saying before, it's a unique process for us that we created. So it's giving you a little bit more insight into how games get made, which tends to be a lot more complex than most people will give it credit for. So there's lots of steps here. A lot of them aren't too friendly, but we've done it a lot. We've gotten used to it, so we're kind of dull to how complex it is sometimes.
Yeah, and if you have obviously have any questions on things that you'd like to see more in depth, we'll definitely cover it.
Like I said, I'm working on a document to write this all up. It's not going to be fully in depth. There's going to be a lot of stuff where I'm assuming you have knowledge about how to use 3D programs. I'm assuming you have knowledge about how to use Photoshop or GIMP or one of those other programs. And I'm assuming you have some knowledge on how to use UDK. But I'm giving you as much knowledge as I can about the stuff that's unique to our system.
I just loaded up a taunt to show you how to get that working. Once you double-click on a model, under the Anim tab, the second tab up here, you can see all the different anim sets are there. And in this case, Assault. Again, we'll cover that in more depth in a video tutorial coming up.
Yeah. And once we release this content, well, the content's already released. Once we release the document, please use the forums. We'll try and answer the questions as we can. Either post them into the main thread here, and we'll try and integrate any questions people have back into the documentation or into the assets that we release, or create a new thread, and again, we'll do our best to answer that. Hopefully some of the people on there will get into this, and they'll help answer questions people have too.
I want to look at some of the stuff that people have been creating over the last, it's been less than a week since we released it on the forum. Can we cut back to the forum? All right, so let's look at some of these. This is Crush a Cake Rules Beatnik Cheston. It's in progress. Let's see. Meat Grinder. It's like a weapon prop by Skellington King. It's like a dual minigun update for Gunner. Leo Crown by Cookie. Oh, I like this one too. Symbolism. I love that freaky monkey. That's come along nicely too. So we're looking forward to seeing more content. As far as what we're going to do with the content, I think we're going to do some revenue sharing with the players, the content creators, and we'll have more information as we develop those ideas. So.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what crazy stuff people come up with.
Yeah, me too. That's we're excited about it. So that's about it for us, Supremacy. We have some other Supremacy stuff in development we can't really talk about right now, but hopefully in a future update. We just wanted to do a quick look at the user-created content. At this point, we're going to cut to Maver on Planetary Annihilation updates. Thanks, guys.
All right, Planetary Annihilation. So there's a few things we're going to go through here today. We actually have quite a long PA segment. The first thing I wanted to do was introduce Mark Scattergood.
Hey guys.
Otherwise known as
Garrett.
Garrett on the forum. Yeah, Garrett and W, because there's other Garretts apparently.
Apparently.
So Mark is a producer at Uber, works on a bunch of different stuff, including PA. And so the first order of business here is
Winners.
extreme close-up.
With clear envelope that you can actually see the names through. So we'll be doing the Grammys next. So first up, what we have with Logitech Gaming wanted to do a collaboration with us, do some cross promos. So they gave us some awesome gear. So 40 people who did pre-orders will be winning this, which is the optical G400 mouse. Awesome mouse. Actually, I think this is the same one I use on my desk.
Pretty sweet.
Very good wired mouse to use, and 40 of our users will be using that, and I think our guys will be putting those names on screen here in a minute. And as always, you get some awesome names like
Actually, my favorite is Le Pantoufle Le Magic. That's a pretty good one.
So we'll be slowly working our way through the names here. And like I said, there's 40 people will be getting these after the segment today. I'll be sending an email to everyone, getting your shipping address, and we'll be getting this stuff in the mail fairly soon to you guys.
Crone 123.
Ooh, Soupy Twist too. Now, I haven't had lunch yet. That's really not actually a very nice name to have up on screen right now.
Some guy apparently likes to kill dudes
Rob
named
Killer.
Rob.
Actually, that guy's name was Rob, as far as I could tell. So I think there might be a little bit of self-loathing going on there.
He's Rob, but he's also a killer.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Okay. So our second, our second tier winners will each win again the G400 mouse and the Logitech gaming headset. I don't know how well you can see that. The G930. So we have 3 winners who will get those, and that is excuse me. I'm not sure if this is Les Ports or Les Sports.
I'd say Les Sports.
Yeah, Les Sports. Kexan, and you can throw these on screen whenever you want, and Shadekinth. So congrats, guys. You guys will be getting that soon. We'll, again, email you after this.
I want to thank Logitech for throwing in the hardware.
Seriously.
I mean, anytime I can get people to give us hardware to give to our fans, I'm down with that, pretty much.
Yeah, and we're pretty much all using this hardware in our offices, at least the keyboards and mostly the mouses. The mouses. But yeah, so the first prize winners, they get a pretty awesome pack here. Yeah. First off, they're getting the G35, which is a really fantastic stereo headset. They're getting the wireless G700. And we got 3 winners who are getting all this stuff. And my personal favorite, because this is what I use myself, is the G710. This is a fantastic mechanical keyboard. Good stuff. Thank you again, Logitech. And the winners of this are Morris46, Timkin, and my personal favorite, Corrupt Sock. So those guys, again, be in touch very shortly. And congrats, guys, and thanks for pre-ordering. And we're excited about getting a lot more stuff out here soon to all you guys.
So are we missing our next... Okay. So, in future updates, Mark's pretty involved with the project. He's kind of, to kind of explain why you're on board. Uber traditionally hasn't had a whole lot of production-type people in the past. We worked together in the past on a few games other people have probably played. And the idea here is for Mark to take load off of myself and off of Bob so that we can concentrate, or so I can concentrate on PA, and then Bob's trying to take some of the business load off me so that I can spend my time on PA. So Mark is the guy that when I need to do something that I would normally do myself, I go to him, and then he figures out how to make it happen. So I think you'll probably be hearing a lot more from Mark in the future.
Yeah, and if you're on the forums, you probably already have cursed my name at least a couple times already. So.
Yeah, he's like, you know how there's like good cop and bad cop? He's bad cop. He does the bad news, I do the good news.
So, and also, though, if you need anything, don't hesitate to get in touch on the forums, send an email, try pretty quickly to get back in touch with whoever we can. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was a little bit sick over the last couple of weeks. I still am, actually. And yeah, you're probably going to get it anyway. You probably already had it. So, I've been trying to recover. We also had Kevin join the team recently. Kevin is a graphics programmer from the area here that's worked on a bunch of different stuff over many years. Worked at Monolith, worked at Microsoft.
And done a lot of startups and independent stuff, too.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. So he's helping out on the graphics side, so we'll probably get him on in the future. Next up, after this, we're going to go and do some art concept stuff. Yep. Actually, I want to talk a little bit about the backer forum that we put up.
Oh yeah, which we launched 2 days ago, I think now.
Yeah.
So
the idea behind the backer forum was, when we originally put together the Kickstarter, we were thinking, it's nice to have a place can go and talk. And then as we kind of, started to run our forum, it was like, having it open is kind of nice. It's nice for me to have it all in one place. It's nice to be able to just have all the stuff vectored in one place. The problem is there's a lot of stuff that I want to release that I don't feel comfortable talking about completely in public, but I do feel comfortable talking about with the backers. So that's kind of the idea of the backer forum, is to put the things in there that we don't necessarily feel comfortable releasing. It's a little bit experimental, to be honest. So we're going to show some art stuff, and when we do that, we'll put it into the backer forum so people can see it. The idea there is it's not supposed to be posted all over the internet. That's the idea.
Right. Yep.
So how that goes, we'll see. But the better that people are at being good about it, the more stuff we can post in there.
Yep, and that's one of the perks of being part of that early backing crowd on the Kickstarter. So
I like Tubstep. At least lie to us. Are the backer forums for the alpha talk as well? We'll probably end up having a specific forum for the alpha. This is just like anyone that's a backer or a pre-order gets into this, so you can pre-order and get into it at any point.
Yeah. Alpha we almost definitely will want to. By beta, we might be able to just put that in the backer forum and have beta conversation there, but kind of depends where we're at by that point. So
the backer forum, is that actually accessible now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically, as soon as if you haven't finalized already, the first time you log into the forums after you've finalized your backer pledge, you pretty much get immediate access to it. We automatically flag your account for access to the forum, so you shouldn't need to ask for permission or anything.
So the forum is at uberint.com/forums.
Yep.
Are we ready? Okay. So I'm going to move over to the couch here. Hang out with Steve-O. Good. How you doing?
Good.
How are we looking on framing?
You guys are perfect.
Okay. So I want to introduce Steve. Everybody should be familiar with him, well, for the most part anyway, as he is the art lead and kind of art visionary for this game. And so, the last live stream that we did, we showed off some kind of like work in progress rendering type stuff. Here we want to show off a little bit of one of the biomes that we're working on and what it looks like. Before we show you guys this stuff, I want to prerequisite this by saying that these are art concepts, and you may look at it and go, oh, there's a lot of vertical height variation or things like that that could affect gameplay. If things break gameplay or affect gameplay in a negative way, we'll change them. But we want to try some interesting stuff. So I'll let you take it away a bit here, Steve.
All right, cool. So we're working on a desert biome for the Earth-type planet, and this is what we have here. So the goal of the terrain is to basically create a canvas for the player to build bases and have areas for combat. So there's a lot of things you have to consider, and most of all is making sure the units read well and that we can easily identify the units and that they pop and all that kind of stuff. So this is what we got. We ended up with something like this. So what we want to do is have units nice and clean and readable. So what we've done with the color is made the units kind of higher contrast and more saturated, and the terrain more muted and pastel. So you can see the ground here. It's kind of it's a little bit lighter in color, so the units can have areas of contrast. You see the dark areas and lots of ambient occlusion baked into those little crevices and dark shadows.
So I got to ask a question here, Steve, because I'm looking at this and it doesn't look a whole lot like the video.
Right.
Yeah. Where's the swirl?
Swirls are coming. We will probably integrate the swirls because we love them so much with some of the texturing techniques that you're thinking about right now. We still want it to be kind of chunky and blocky. That's why you see the geometric detail in some of these things popping out of the planet surface here are still pretty chunky, but we still want to have enough detail so that when you zoom in close to a unit, that the detail level of the rocks and the bushes and stuff still makes sense.
The actual kind of technology behind the terrain system, we kind of showed them a little bit of the planet generator, but we haven't really talked about the actual way that it works. We're really trying to do something a little bit different here than most games. I mean, the idea behind this terrain here is that we're able to basically have a complex, arbitrary kind of manifold mesh for the terrain. So you can see with these towers and stuff, there's vertical things. It's not like a traditional kind of height field terrain engine. It's all built out of pieces that fit together in different ways and actually kind of can intersect each other. And it's completely dynamic. I mean, that's the whole idea behind the game, is so we can smash the planets together and chunk stuff out at runtime. There's cracks out there that are carved into the ground. We can do that kind of carving during the game, which is pretty cool.
It is cool. So yeah, there's a lot of consideration because we're not building this, we're not handcrafting every planet, of course. It's all procedural. So we have to basically think of art in terms of rule sets instead of custom-made everything. So all these elements have to work together. So these big columns, for example, we have to find a way to make them cheaply because we'll be populating an entire planet with it. So most of the detail you see in here is actually with normal mapping and texture mapping. There's only a few of these rock objects, and those rock object features or props are used to kind of blend between some of these big columns. So we're managing poly count that way, keeping the poly count low, but implying detail.
So this is a concept, but basically this concept is built out of the same kinds of pieces that we use in the actual planet generator. That's the kind of general idea.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, these columns are still pretty low poly. You're getting more polys with these features, but those are, you know, more scattered around and add that kind of detail level. So it's probably a little too detail leveled. We'll probably pull it back just a little bit because we kind of like that funky, kind of blocky look. You can see this big crack, for example, that John was talking about. It's still very polygonal, which is a cool style. And the purpose of that is to, you know, again, you can see that it's darker in these areas, so that a user can check that out and say, hey, that's not a passable area. So you want to be strategic about where you build your base, knowing that there's a big crevice there. Lighter areas again for the units, and you know, you get a really quick visual read on where you can build a base and what would be the most strategic area to kind of start populating your.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, one of the things that we're looking at here is the ability to do much more height variation, and we're not really 100% sure how that's going to affect the gameplay. I think it's going to open up some interesting possibilities, but the entire planet obviously isn't going to be like this. There's going to be plenty of open areas and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But we're pushing on some of the more complicated pieces because those are the harder bits to kind of get right. You know, making an open flat plane with some trees on it isn't frankly all that interesting. This kind of stuff, you know, pushes the limits of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, there's a lot of problems we need to solve. Like texture blending, for example, is another thing that we've been discussing on how we're going to handle. Like how many layers of texture? Like you can see here, we've got a sand layer, and we've got kind of an exposed rock area, and then that kind of blends into a more solid rock area, and then that blends into like that rubble stuff that goes up into these columns. So, you know, how are we going to get those things to blend properly in a procedural way? And not just for, you know, blending these nodes together, but also adding, you know, texture variant across the entire planet, and minimizing tiling or eliminating tiling altogether with more macro textures that are used to kind of maybe mask out areas that are tiled, but you won't see that. So again, we're trying to solve a lot of problems in this concept and flesh it out with our procedural generation.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting set of problems actually, and I think we have good solutions for most of it at this point. Yeah. It's not all 100% running yet, but it's coming along pretty well.
Yeah. So this is all generated in 3D Studio Max, and what we've tried to do is to mimic what the lighting model might be in the engine. So you can see there's one key light, and then there's an ambient light or a fill light. There's ray trace shadows. We probably won't have ray trace shadows, but something that looks like a facsimile of ray trace shadows.
And ambient occlusion.
Yeah. And there's ambient occlusion in there for sure to bake some of those details into the geometry a little bit. So basically, it's a really simple lighting setup in Max to kind of mimic what we'll have in the engine too, just so we can, you know, keep an eye on performance. And
so, as I said, we're going to release these into the backer exclusive forum, with the idea that things get released in there are not supposed to just get uploaded to every site on the internet. So hopefully people are responsible with their access. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy so far. It does look radically different than the video, but this is the difference between something that you put together quickly and taking that vision, you know, all the way out. And there is a lot more crunchy detail here, and I think that's reflective of, you know, of us just really looking at it and spending time on it and saying what really looks good here.
Exactly.
It still, you know, still has that kind of cartoony look to it, but it's a little bit more sophisticated.
Yeah, and again, we're still playing with the look. We'll probably modify it from here as well, and it's just a matter of iterating and seeing what looks good and seeing how all the biomes work together and how the planets work with each other. So it is definitely a process. Okay, so anything else you want to say before we wrap this segment? We're just going to continue making new biome concepts and hopefully have some more stuff for you soon. All right. I guess I'm going to... Are we ready on the other side? All right.
like live, moving between different sets. So the next segment I wanted to do, and I wanted to do this a while ago, we've just been so busy, is get Mike Robbins on here. Mike Robbins, otherwise known as Saurian, is one of our guru programmers. So, let's do a little bit of Q&A here at the beginning, just so you can introduce yourself.
Sure.
How did you kind of get started in making games like this?
I got started as a modder, modding for the original Spring Commander and also for Forged Alliance. I spent 2.5 years working on an AI mod for that game.
And, not to be modest about it, but everybody thought your AI was like the best.
Yeah, actually, there was a neat article. I can't remember what website or if it was PC Gamer that did an article that said that GPG was going to be focusing more resources on the AI for Forged Alliance, specifically because of the AI mods that were available in the community.
So, you basically have a pretty deep experience in AI, but since you've been here, you've been working on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't you talk a little bit about the kinds of things that you've been working on that aren't AI, and then we'll talk about AI.
Well, I got to start off doing a lot of low-level engine work, which I haven't had the opportunity to do before. Things for supporting multi-platform and multi-threading and that sort of thing. And I've never gotten a chance to do that before. I've mainly focused on AI in my career.
You even put together our setup that builds across Linux, Mac, and PC.
Our build system. Yeah, I have 4 machines underneath my desk right now. 3 of them are the build boxes.
So that's you probably haven't done that before either, right?
No, never.
So the way we work at Uber is we just hire smart people and they work on stuff that needs to be done. And so AI is really his kind of thing, but this early in the game, it doesn't make sense to actually write AI code when the game isn't there yet.
Right.
Right. So you did the build stuff, you did a bunch of low-level engine stuff, and then recently you've been working on unit orders and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, a lot more gameplay stuff. The fact that the game has units, there has to be classes and stuff to support it. Unit orders for moving, building, factory queues, that sort of thing. And then my most recent addition has been the resource system, which metal and energy, and actually having build orders take that metal and energy and producing it and that sort of thing.
So, and then this morning, of course, we were talking about weapon implementation, because we're basically moving on to that right now.
Hoping to move on to that so that we can actually have like a white box, things blowing other things up.
So, as far as the AI goes, so somebody's saying the resource system is outlined. We've always said metal and energy. I don't know if we need to go into much more detail than that.
No.
So, as far from the AI standpoint, to me, there's 2 different types of AI in the game. Mm-hmm. There's the unit AI, what the units do when you execute an order, mm-hmm. right? And some of the kinds of things that we've been talking about doing are actually pushing some AI smarts into that area, right? Things like area targeting,
yes.
having bombers split up to, not radically overkill targets and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So that's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect is the actual strategic AI, the higher level control AI that you would play against as a player.
Exactly.
So, you haven't actually worked on it yet, right? But I know you have a lot of ideas of what you want to do.
Yeah.
So what are kind of some of the top things that you think are interesting there?
Well, area commands are really interesting to me. I absolutely love the idea. I love the idea when it was brought up during Spring Commander days. To actually have units, intelligently pick out targets. You don't tell the unit bombers all to target one thing because they're going to drastically overkill it. Having them spread out and choose targets so that 10 bombers go after that guy, a couple go after that guy, a couple go after that guy, that sort of thing. I'm really looking forward to doing that. As far as the strategic AI, I'm definitely going to make use of neural networks again for this AI. I think that was a really good choice for Spring Commander 2, and I think it'll be a really good choice for Planetary Annihilation as well.
So why don't you talk a little bit about the kind of geeky details of how that works?
Well, I could get really geeky. How geeky do you want it to get?
Well, get like a couple minutes worth of geeky.
Couple minutes worth of geeky. Okay. Let's see. The neural networks were used in Spring Commander 2 to have platoons of units determine whether or not they should stick around and fight or run away. I mean, that's what it boiled down to. But it also told them who they should attack first. It's not just, hey, should I attack or should I run? It's who's the best target to take out before I either have to run or, my platoon ends up, getting destroyed. And
so how does it figure that out?
it takes information from the battlefield. It takes information like the health of my platoon, the overall health, the overall shield strength, DPS, all of that information that a player would be looking at, the AI is also going to be looking at. It takes it for my platoon, takes it for the allies in the area, and then it takes that information for the enemies in the area, feeds that into a neural network, and the neural network comes out and says, hey, here's your best action. The best action could be attack the weakest target, because if you perform that action, then it's going to turn out in your favor. Even if you lose the platoon, you may have taken out like one of their like giant, really expensive units in the process, and that's good for you, even if you lost the platoon. Or it may be that there is no good action to take, and you need to run away. And
so you say that you feed this stuff into the neural network.
yes.
So as most people know, now everybody should know this, right? Neural networks need to have like a training phase of some
Yes.
sort, typically before they output useful stuff.
Yes.
So what kind of technique do you use to actually train the neural network?
Well, for Sprint Commander 2, it was basically just letting the AI play against itself. You get a small map, you get one AI, another AI, have them play against each other, and that's how they learn. They learn by trial and error. They'll pick a random action, say, I encounter this platoon randomly. I'm going to choose attack the weakest target. Oh well, that was a bad decision. We shouldn't have done that. So that gets trained down. Like we won't do that again in that same circumstance. Or it could be that it was a really great action, and then it's going to get trained that you should do that in those circumstances that are similar. And then over time, it just kind of learns what it should do when, and it doesn't have to be like the exact same circumstance. It's able to infer things based on what it's learned from playing the game.
So everyone in America drinks out of red cups at parties. Did you know that?
No. It's a party.
It was a party.
I want a red cup now.
Okay, so I'm curious if people have any AI questions since you're on here. I see some questions scrolling by, but I haven't seen anything AI specific. Yeah, what's the deal with the red cups? I was sitting here with the red cup going, oh yeah, these are
water.
Costco cups, and everyone buys all their cups at Costco because they're cheap.
Do I need to train every single unit or just unit types? Actually, it's neither. It's not units types, it's not every
setups,
unit.
right?
It's essentially just stats. It boils down to stats. It doesn't care what the unit is or anything like that. Why isn't your AI as good as the ritual? Yeah, thanks, Skathis.
Oh yeah, nice one, Skathis.
Who wrote that AI, Skathis?
One could argue that, well,
Yeah.
anyway. How do bombers compare to tanks, though? So that's interesting. It's the same thing, right? The
Yeah.
general idea with area commands is, imagine you have a platoon of tanks, you say, attack this area, and then the idea is the tanks should optimize their performance to blow everything up in that area. Same thing with bombers, same thing with anything else.
Right.
I think area commands are going to be pretty damn cool in this game.
I'm really looking forward to them.
It's all about command and control, right?
Being
at the
able
end
to
of the day.
build things in an area, or reclaim things in an area, or attack things in an area. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to give a lot of control to the players. And
What about building AI all for air, for example? Go for the first plane, then they see 100 missiles, miss everything. Not sure that question actually makes sense, but I think what he's trying to say is, can you just train the air specifically?
oh yeah,
And
we
I-
did that for Sprint Commander
Yeah,
too.
and
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you really do. It's each of the neural networks. There was 4. There was a neural network for land platoons. There was a neural network for naval platoons. There was a neural network for bomber platoons, and then there was a neural network for what's the other? Just like fighters, air versus air platoons. Well, the AI, yeah. Yes, the AI should be.
No, actually, I think that's an interesting question. The question is, will the AI not be retarded? And the simple answer is, the computers are retarded, at least currently.
Yeah.
So of course the AI is going to be retarded. It's a computer. You're always going to be able to find some way to exploit it. But,
Potentially.
But for the average person that's playing the game, it will kick your ass. I'm
hoping.
pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
I think you know how to make that happen.
Yes.
I think the AI question that's a lot more interesting, and instead of asking, will the AI be able to kill you, it's is the AI actually fun to play against?
Right.
And I think that's a much bigger challenge than making an AI that will kill you.
Right.
And it's also a challenge to do it when it doesn't cheat.
Yes.
You know, I'm not a fan of cheating AIs.
Yeah, if I could make the AI cheat, I mean, sure, it'll wipe the floor with people, but you know, we don't. That's not fun.
So, will we be able to use slow as shit crawler bombs like the Roach? I love crawling bombs. I don't know. You probably haven't ever. Yeah, crawling bombs are pretty cool.
No, they were. What was it? Was it Forged Alliance, one of the expansion packs or something that had the crawling bombs or something?
I like crawling bombs.
Those were fun, although they weren't useful in that particular game because they weren't balanced all that well, I don't think. But yeah, they're definitely fun.
I really hope the AI doesn't prematurely use actions to counteract actions of the player without vision. Is that the same thing as he's saying about with cheating?
He's basically saying cheating. Like if you start building a nuke launcher underneath, you know, with no radar or vision coverage or anything like that, then the AI shouldn't know that you're building a nuke launcher.
Right. So,
and I totally agree, unless there's an option there for giving that information to the AI, then that should totally be available. If you want the AI to cheat against you, then it really should.
Yeah, some people want it to be even more challenging.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I think the AI should scout.
Yeah.
That being said, the AI is much better at scouting than a person.
Oh, rubber banding AI. Absolutely hate that. That's just frustrating. That's not fun.
Because you can never win.
Yeah.
The only way to win the game is to never play.
To never play.
Will the AI learn during alpha beta? It'll come online in there sometime, I'm sure.
The game really needs to start to solidify before I start doing neural network training, or else I'm just going to end up retraining and retraining and retraining for bug fixes and that sort of thing.
That's a question. How do you limit the AI for different difficulties?
Whew. You know, there's been a lot of discussion about that. There's various ways we can do it. You know, Spring Commander 2, it limited the cheating by you could give a different resource, basically giving it a, what is that called, a handicap. You know, you could give it more resources, less resources per second than a normal player, you know, giving it full map version for a full map radar. But there's other things you can do, like you could limit like actions per second or something. That gets a little more complicated, but that would also effectively limit the AI's difficulty. Also, different abilities, you know, different tactical decisions could only be for the higher difficulty levels. There's a lot of ideas floating around for that. So
a question, how do you train tactically complex units like the Commander? You generally don't train individual units like that, right?
No, not normally. No, that'll probably just be handled in code somewhere. If there's like specific abilities or something that need to get used, it won't necessarily be a neural network. It might be, I don't know. I'll have to determine that later.
Can you give temporary sector control to AI? Say if you're looking at another planet, you can't cover everything. Say, so you don't get annihilated while looking somewhere else. And that's not really part of the core game design. We have talked about some ideas of, in single-player mode, being able to have the AI play some stuff for you.
Right.
But you know, when you're actually playing the game, you need to play the game. Now, I want the units to be smart enough that playing the game is pleasant.
Right.
For example, somebody asked if anti-aircraft flak would distribute against, you know, across the aircraft, and I would hope that we would make the flak smart enough that it's actually coordinating and useful. Right,
yeah, like if you build like a bunch of flak next to each other, that they kind of intercommunicate and like, okay, I'm going to take that target, I'll take that target, I'll take that target, and just go. There was an interesting
Can you remove hills so you can build a base on some level ground, and if so, can the AI do that? Terraforming, I think, is an interesting question, and it's something we're exploring, but it's not kind of part of the core gameplay thing. The main reason for having the variable terrain is, if you look at a lot of these games, when you place a building, sometimes you want to flatten some stuff out, have some plans for that. And then also for, you know, when big nukes hit, you could potentially have some terrain go away. And then when asteroids or planets smack together, destruction there.
Yeah,
right?
I like those ideas.
Like, I don't know, did you see the demo I did where I took an entire planet and just like carved it out so that it was like half a planet with like big giant crater?
Right, yeah.
Stuff like that.
That would be fun.
You know, it's certainly going to be possible to build units that do terraforming. Whether we make it part of the core gameplay experience or not, I think is an open question.
Right.
I definitely expect the engine to be able to do it, though, because we use it in certain places.
Could turn it into a construction game. Just build a bunch of bulldozers and.
Yeah, you pretty much could. I'll talk more about the terrain system in the future, but I really tried to come up with something different than other games do, and I think it is different. So
Yeah.
let's see.
Will you be able to communicate with AI allies? You know, I did that for the Supreme Commander. No, not Supreme Commander. It was Forged Alliance mod. Actually, you could give commands to the AI. I mean, it wasn't. It was a mod, so I was limited in what I could do. But I don't know. It's definitely on my mind of things to possibly do for this game. To be able to, hey, you know, you go here, I'll go here, or you know, you set up a base over here, or whatever. I mean, it'd be kind of nice, but
But one thing we will have is different styles of AI that they can select in the lobby, and that kind of gives you some of that control too.
Yes.
And I'm assuming people will probably be able to customize those.
Yeah, yeah. If you select like a turtling style AI, I mean, yeah, it's going to turtle more than the normal, but.
So, will the AI become more aggressive or more relaxed upon events that happen within the planet, e.g. destruction of a major base? It's probably not aggressiveness, it's more like, you know, if you take out a major base and his resources go way down, he'll have to basically look at his current strategic options. So I would argue probably wouldn't be more aggressive in that case.
It'd probably be less aggressive, yeah.
Will the environment be destructible? Yes, that's kind of what I was talking about with all that stuff.
Forest fires.
Yeah, definitely forest fires. Definitely trees that block small units.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
To me, that's something I would like to have. Will they be able to harvest gas clouds as a resource in Galactic Conquest? It's not really a part of Galactic Conquest mode, it's a part of the gas giant stuff. The idea is we'll have this fusion reactor that sits in orbit in a gas giant with a tube that goes down, sucking. It's basically, think about it, I've said this before, it's like a turbocharger for a fusion reactor. So, you know, picture like a normal fusion reactor, but it's in orbit and it's got this big tube that sucks up helium-3 and just gives you massive amounts of energy.
Nice.
It's kind of the idea there. So, yeah, it basically is gas cloud harvesting. Go read the John Ringo's Troy Rising Live Free or Die series if you want to read where some of the inspiration for that comes from.
Nice.
Pretty cool stuff. Will you delve into esports aspects of many RTS games? You know, as people who pay attention to the forum have seen, we have a really heavy engine emphasis, almost a ridiculous emphasis on replays,
right,
and the ability to scrub back and do instant replays and stuff. The kind of example I always use is, there's two examples I use. One is, imagine having a button that skips you back 10 seconds and then plays the game at double rate or triple rate until you catch up, so you can kind of see what you missed.
Right.
And then the other piece would be, if you have a unit corpse, click on it and say, show me how this died, and pop open a little window that shows you what was going on around that unit when it died. Those are the kinds of things that are being enabled with the tech we're developing, and I hope that works out. But I think it will. It's pretty cool stuff. And you know, scrubbing backwards, I think, is going to be.
I mean, the stuff that we've got already is
pretty
impressive. So.
Yeah, it does that now. Okay, let's take some more AI questions here. There seems to be quite a few now.
Will the AI be able to relearn after each patch? Actually, I hope it shouldn't have to, honestly. If it's just a balance patch or whatever, it really shouldn't need to. Because it's all stats. I mean, if you change the balance of the game, then the AI is going to use the units differently just because the numbers you're feeding into the neural network are going to be different.
What is the biggest weapon you can use short of a planetoid? I think it's called the Maver. No, just kidding. It's a good question. I mean, there's definitely nukes. There might be something in between. Can an AI ambush a unit? What is the definition of ambush? I mean, sure it can if it runs into it randomly. And
Sure. I mean, will it plan it that way?
Probably not.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea yet.
Can the AI have a professional difficulty? I think that's the equivalent of
what would be the professional difficulty?
Yeah.
I mean, is it going to like have full map vision and all that kind of stuff? I mean, you know, if we go the Supreme Commander level of things, I mean, you could turn the AI up into ridiculous levels where, you know, you would have a hard time doing a 3v1 against it. But I mean,
so important question here: can you use the AI in a private match to practice against? And the answer is,
I don't see why not.
Of course, right? I mean, that's kind of the point of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that just want to play skirmish. They don't want to play competitively.
Actually, I think a vast majority of people would rather just play against the AI, honestly. Taunts. Somebody wants the AI to taunt.
I think that's within the realm of possibility.
I would certainly enjoy it.
Can the AI learn to exploit your weaknesses over the course of a few games? Probably not, right? I mean, it's something. It's one of those things that sounds good on paper, but
yeah, when you try to get into having like the AI learn strategic elements and that sort of thing, that becomes incredibly difficult. Like you're talking about a vast amount of information that you're wanting the AI to be able to process, and I don't see it. I really don't. Could we have the AI learn out, update its neural networks in the field? Possibly. I mean, that's in the realm of possibility. But again, that's.
So there's a question here I want to address. Can you give options to concentrate fire rather than spread out? So the idea there, right? I mean, there's two different types of attack commands. There's attack this area, which is going to just try to eliminate everything in that area effectively.
Right.
But if you'd select a bunch of tanks and click on a thing and say blow this up, and then blow this up, and then blow this up, it will do that in order. So you can concentrate your fire.
Yep.
In addition, when you're talking about attack styles or defense style, each unit basically has a stance, maybe even a couple of stance buttons that let you control kind of like how reactive the unit is and that kind of stuff.
Right,
so,
return, fire, hold ground, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And
chase down.
Maneuvering, exactly.
Yeah.
Will the AI learning be limited to every computer, or can it be uploaded to your servers? I don't think we've fully decided that. I mean, we're definitely going to do our own in-house training of the AI, but we've talked about allowing other people to potentially do their own training. It might be. It's probably going to be possible. I don't know if it's something the average person will want to do. It's not going to be like in the main menu, train AI.
Right. And it's not like you're going to be able to go into a file and start training it manually. Like, no, I'm going to flip this number and train the AI to be better.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Opaque in these things. Yeah. Will the AI, on its own, form alliances with other AI during the match? Probably not.
Probably not. No, because that could turn into this isn't fun anymore. If all the AIs if you do a free-for-all match of you and 3 AIs and all the AIs team up against you, that's not going to be fun.
Can you have a medic AI to heal on the battlefield? I would assume that
any unit that we support, any unit that we support is going to, the AI will have to support it.
Here's an interesting question. How will the server work GUI-wise? I think I already talked about this a little bit, but not today, obviously, so I'll go into this in more detail. It's not really AI related, but I do think it's an interesting question.
Sure.
So the general idea with the server is, on the server, in a normal game, you talk to it over a special protocol, and it says, oh, you've joined the lobby, here's the players that are in the lobby, and you basically, on the client side, render a screen that's usually hard-coded, and the UI isn't really, if you have a mod, you can usually mod it, but it's kind of a per mod you're running type thing.
Right.
So the architecture that we're going for is radically more flexible than that. The general idea is that the server actually has a web server embedded in it that you can talk to using the web browser that's embedded into the client. And that server can actually serve you different web pages that are the lobby. So if you're a modder and you wanted to go in and create like a custom lobby, you could serve that to people that have a client version different than what your mod is, because it's just a web page that they're displaying the info. The server controls not only what the information is, but it controls the format of it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be incredibly cool, and people are going to be able to basically script on the server side and change what the lobby looks like and stuff per server instance without having people necessarily have to update their client. Obviously, if you're using a unit mod or something like that, you need to do that. But a server mod could potentially run with any client, which is, I think, pretty cool.
That would be nice.
So someone's asking about preset build orders can be boring over time if the AI has a limited amount. How much variety of build orders will the AI have before scouting or something the player? That's not really how the AI works, right?
Well, depends. I mean, it generally, use StarCraft as an example. There's only a few effective first build orders. There's not that many. After you get past the first few units, that's where the real game starts. That's where the real decision making and the real pro players come out. I don't see the AI being that much different. There's an initial build order that everybody pretty much follows. that's probably what the AI will do. And then what it does beyond that, that's where the fun is going to.
Part of my goal here, from a game design perspective too, is to make it so that at the beginning of the game, we eliminate as much of that kind of like, here's your basic thing you always do. Oh, you always build one solar panel with one extractor, and then you bootstrap.
Right.
There's some strategies I'm trying to put in to skip a little bit of that.
Okay.
To make the decisions that you make more interesting as soon as possible. But it'll probably just move the problem down the road, like,
right.
100 meters.
You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Somebody out there somewhere will find the optimal build order, or so at some point in the build process, this is what you have to do to win.
Can we have AFK AI?
Meaning what?
Well, to me, AFK would
like
mean
when you go
disconnect
AFK?
from the server, AI takes over playing your guys while you're gone, I think is what he's talking about.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea.
The problem is the AI would have to build up all its state and everything, right?
That's not really the hard part.
Okay.
The hard part is, like, if you're playing, it's making the AI as good as the player that disconnected. If it's a really good player, they disconnected, it's like, okay, well, do you really want the AI to take over and start making decisions and mess up everything? Or would you rather just, whatever, figure out the issue that caused the disconnect in the first place and just restart a new lobby? I mean, I can see both sides of that, but yeah.
So the Seeker 2 has an interesting question that's unfortunately not AI, but I think worth addressing.
Sure.
Can you host multiple games with one dedicated server? And the answer is the current architecture does support that. So the idea would be, imagine you're having a LAN party or something, or you just want to set up an internet server. You'd basically set up your lobby, you could connect to that, start a game, and then other people could connect to another lobby and start another game. And
right.
assuming you've got enough CPU power, you could start quite a few games. Actually, I think the limiting factor will probably end up being network bandwidth, but it depends on how big your game is and how many units you want and stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know if you can rebuild a planet or repair sections of it. As I said, terraforming isn't really the main thrust of the game.
Right.
Certainly, it'd be possible to build a unit that creates a bridge or paves over areas and stuff. It's not really the focus, but it's possible. Okay, I think we'll take one or two more questions, and then I think we'll wrap this up. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see. Let's try to pick something interesting. Like have a 16-core CPU hosting a bunch of games. Yeah. Or one giant game with 16 cores.
Yeah. That would be one giant game.
Will the AI be able to take full advantage of modded community-made units?
Full advantage. Depends on what you define as full advantage. Use them, build them. I don't see why not. Using special abilities, I don't know where that falls yet. Since I haven't, we haven't put that side of the engine in yet, then I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one.
Somebody's asking about save load multiplayer games. Go read my forum posts on how we're setting up replays. Basically, a replay is a save game. Is the idea. Can the lobby make clients depart a game and join another? I don't know about the lobby, but the player can certainly leave. If there are factions like in SoupCom, how will the AI react to different factions? There isn't really, so the factional thing, I'll talk about it more later, but the general idea is, yes, there's factions, but they're more representative of philosophies and different commanders than the unit set.
Right.
There's a set of units, and then there's factions, and the factions are more like, political parties than they are guys that have different units.
Right.
Because everyone uses the best units. Why would you use crappy units?
Yeah. PlanetSide 2, I think, does something very similar where, there's a set of units that every single faction uses. There's only a couple of units that are actually, for that faction because, why would you use anything different? If they're already using the best unit, then everybody is going to use that unit.
Okay, so why don't you pick one final interesting questions?
How will the AI react to a player? Per se, it has no vision until it scouts a large amount of incoming rush players. Okay. AI reaction to players. That is actually a big pet peeve of mine, and it's one thing that I like to focus on a lot. In Spring Commander 2, the AI would react when it scouted you out. If it saw you building a nuke launcher, then it would either try to destroy it or build a nuke defense in response. The problem became, what if it didn't scout it? And you just start lobbing nukes at it and it doesn't do anything. I fixed that in that game. If the AI started taking damage from things like artillery shells, or started taking nukes or whatever, it would realize that you have to have one. So it would start building in response, or start scouting it out, trying to find it, and in addition to that, it would actually tell all of its AI allies, hell, I'm taking damage from an artillery. You guys should start building shields or start hunting down artilleries and start taking them out. I'm definitely for the AI reacting to players. I think it makes the game a lot more fun.
So Control Freak had this question. I'm going to address this one again.
Sure.
You mentioned a while back having terrain poking out of the gas clouds, which to me didn't sound realistic. How do you feel about having large orbital platforms around gas giants that you can build on? So this whole, I was just pointing out, like, hey, if we had a gas giant, like, we already have this whole terrain thing. We could have terrain, and the gas could just be, and you know what? I just was like, fuck it. We're not going to do that. They're just going to be gas, and you can be in orbit, and people don't seem to want terrain on the gas giants, and it is unrealistic, so we're just not going to do it. And it makes my life easier, so
heck yeah.
Thumbs up.
Yay! Like, yay for making it easier.
So I think we're going to wrap it up, and see you guys in a while when we do the next one of these. Hoping to show some more game stuff next time. Overall, kind of have a lot of fun doing these, so we'll keep doing them, and looking forward to getting the alpha and the beta out.
Awesome.
So, yeah.